Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to tackle one of the biggest, most debated questions in the entire dog world. It's a topic that sparks a ton of pride, some friendly arguments, and just a whole lot of curiosity. We're going to try and decode dog intelligence.
Okay, let's just dive right in, shall we? Come on, you've probably asked this yourself, or at least you've thought about it. What really is the smartest dog breed on the entire planet? It feels like it should be a simple question, but the answer, well, it's way more complicated than you might think.
For decades, there's been one answer that has pretty much dominated this whole conversation, and it's all based on one very famous ranking. So let's start right there.
And here it is. The answer that most people will give you, the one that tops the most widely cited list, is the Border Collie. And for good reason. They are absolutely legendary for their focus, their insane work ethic, and this almost uncanny ability to understand really complex commands.
But where does this ranking even come from? Well, it comes from the work of a psychologist named Stanley Coren. Back in 1994, he wrote a book called The Intelligence of Dogs, and in it, he tried to create a definitive hierarchy. So let's take a closer look at how he did it.
Now, what's really important to understand is that Coren was smart. He knew intelligence wasn't just one single thing, so he broke it down into three types. First, you've got instinctive intelligence. That's what a dog is born to do, like a retriever retrieving. Then there's adaptive intelligence. That's all about how a dog learns on its own, solving problems. And finally, there's working and obedience intelligence, which is all about how well a dog can learn from us humans. And here is the absolute key to this whole thing. Coren's famous list? It's based almost entirely on that third category, working and obedience. What he did was survey hundreds of professional obedience trial judges, and he asked them to rank dog breeds on just two things: how fast they learn a new command and how often they obey it on the very first try. And the results? They were pretty dramatic. On one side, you have these A students, like the Border Collie and the Poodle, who can learn a new command in fewer than 5 tries. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have breeds like the Afghan Hound, which might need over 80 repetitions to get it. That is a massive difference in what we call trainability. But this raises a big question. Does difficult to train really mean not smart? This quote really gets to the heart of the criticism. A dog that was bred for centuries to work on its own, to make its own decisions, think of a livestock guardian or a scent hound, it might not be disobedient so much as it's just unimpressed with your command to sit. They're literally bred to think for themselves, not just wait around for orders. So that leads to a really important question. If we move past obedience as our main yardstick, how else could we possibly measure what's going on in a dog's head? What if we looked not just at their behavior, but at their actual biology? And this brings us to a completely different way of looking at this. Instead of just asking dog trainers, let's ask the scientists. Let's try to look inside the canine mind, starting with, the brain itself. So back in 2019, this massive study was published in the journal Animal Cognition. And what they did was pretty cool. Using citizen science data from over 7,000 dogs, researchers asked a really fascinating question. Does having a bigger brain actually make for a smarter dog? Now, this study didn't look for some simple IQ score. No. Instead, it tested for very specific cognitive skills. So, what did the science actually find? The researchers decided to focus on something called executive function. The easiest way to think about this is to imagine it as the CEO of the brain. It's not about knowing a specific trick, like roll over. It's about those higher level skills. Things like planning, focus, self-control, and short-term memory. And the first huge finding was a clear link to memory. The data showed this really obvious upward trend. Basically, the bigger the dog's brain, the better they did on a memory test. In simple terms, larger brain dogs were just significantly better at remembering where a treat was hidden after a delay. The second finding was just as strong, and this time it was all about self-control. In this test, dogs were told not to take a treat that was left right in front of them. And again, the data showed a clear pattern. Bigger brain, more waiting time. They had more impulse control, which is a key part of that executive function we were just talking about. So there we have it. Bigger brain equals smarter dog, right? Case closed? Well, not so fast. The scientists found something really important. This link was what they called domain-specific, and this is a huge deal. And here's where it gets truly fascinating. For a whole range of other cognitive tasks, things like logical reasoning or how well a dog could understand human gestures, there was absolutely no connection to brain size. Zero. The link between brain size and intelligence only showed up for those specific skills, memory and self-control. For everything else, it just wasn't there.
Okay, let's bring this all together. What does this actually mean for us and for the dogs we share our lives with? Well, it means we might need to completely redefine what we even mean when we say a dog is smart.
So let's put these two big ideas side by side. On one hand, you have Corn's rankings, which are a fantastic guide to a dog's trainability and its desire to work with humans. It gives us a single ladder to rank them on. But then you have the brain size study, which shows us that intelligence is really a complex web of different, separate skills. So the takeaway here is that there isn't just one type of smart. It's more like a tapestry of different intelligences. A border collie's genius is in its innate drive to herd. A poodle's genius is its incredible capacity to learn from us. A hound's genius is solving problems all by itself on a scent trail. And a large breed might just have a natural edge when it comes to raw self-control. They're all brilliant, just in different ways.
So maybe we should just stop asking how smart a dog is. Perhaps the better question, the one that really celebrates the amazing animal that's right there in front of us, is this: what kind of genius is the dog in your life?